Hey everyone, Chef Nick Peters Bond here, and this is Commanding Your Kitchen. On today's episode, we are doing part 3 of 5 of my Hell's Kitchen finale menu. If you like videos like this, please don't forget to subscribe, give this video a big thumbs up, and of course, click the notification bell so that we are notified when I post new videos. I usually post videos on Thursdays with sometimes a surprise video here and there, and please leave a comment down below if you'd like to see what I should do next. Oh. Go. All right, so this is kind of my favorite way to cook beets. I love them roasted, and I love to season them a certain way. This may seem crazy to some people, but I really think that it's kind of like a roasted, slow-cooked, poached kind of beet in the oven. I'm gonna show you how I do it. First, we're gonna get with our beets. I like to use a combination of the red beets, which you can see here, and then also some golden beets, which are still on the stem. Beautiful color. You'll see them when they're done. They're like bright yellow, orange inside, and the beets are like a dark purple. So I already have my red beets trimmed and then the ends taken off. So I'm gonna throw them in my bowl, and then I'm gonna set that aside, and I'm going to show you how to cut these ones. So if you get a bunch of beets like this, I got these at Whole Foods. They do have, sometimes they have loose beets or whatever, but this is what they had for yellow beets. So you cut them out the stem there. You can save those greens for this dish, for the salad if you want. I'm using arugula, so I'm not gonna save them today. But if you wanted to, you could definitely purpose those. They are edible. So I'm just taking the sides off, taking these stray pieces off there, little hairs that are sometimes on the beets, and I'm just gonna throw them together. You don't wanna peel these before you roast them, because if you peel the beets before you roast them, the purple ones or the red ones will leach out and they'll stain your pretty yellow ones purple. So while that might not matter to some people, if you're doing a dish like this, you definitely want them to retain their color. All right. Okay, so once you have all your beets trimmed and in a medium-sized bowl, you're going to drizzle them with a neutral oil. I'm just using a vegetable oil. And then a really decent, nice 2 big pinches of salt. That's kosher salt. And then some fresh cracked black pepper. So I'm going to toss these around. And I have about, I don't know, 5 of each color, 6 of each color beet. You're going to want to take a baking dish. I have my oven preheating at 375 on convection. 375, 400 on a regular oven is fine too. And I'm gonna put our beets that we have seasoned in here. Now here comes the kind of weird part. I'm going to poke these, which I think a lot of people do. That just helps kind of evenly cook them. You don't have to do this part, but for me, this is almost how I get that flavor into the beet, and I'll show you what flavor I'm talking about. Like I said, this is a very unconventional way to roast beets, but you get the idea with the poking of those. Okay, now that your beets are all in the pan and they're all poked with your paring knife, I'm going to take some herbs. These are fresh herbs. I prefer fresh for this application. You definitely can sprinkle some dry on here if you needed to. I'm going to do a big bunch of thyme. Thyme is my favorite herb. I feel like, I think I said this actually in my last video, but I feel like it pairs well with pretty much everything. And then I'm going to put 1 small sprig of rosemary. This is optional. This is pretty strong, but I don't, that's why I put a little more thyme. Just kind of nestle that down in there. And then you are going to take your paring knife, and I will show you what we're going to do with these blood oranges later, but the rind on there is also really nice. You can use a peeler. I just had a knife sitting here. I'm going to do a few nice big peels of this blood orange. Regular orange is totally fine for this. If you wanted to use regular oranges in the dish, just buy a regular orange. If you want blood oranges, this is what I have here. So it's like 4 big peels. And we'll do 1 more. Okay, and I will show you how to supreme segment those later. And so after that, we're also going to add in my daughter's orange juice. I'm going to be doing like maybe a cup of orange juice in the bottom of our baking dish. And that's just gonna help steam these. You can see it, well, it looks beautiful already. These are gonna steam essentially, but also roast. It's very interesting because the liquid does eventually get evaporated, but not all of it does, and it starts to caramelize, and these beets are so amazing. So cover them with tin foil, and pop them in the oven at 375 for about 45 minutes or until they're done. I'm gonna test mine with a paring knife midway through, and if they go through evenly, it still has some firmness, but it goes through evenly, then they're done. Okay, so while our beets are roasting, we definitely have some time to get some of our other prep work done. So one of the things I'm gonna be showing you while those are roasting is, this is a blood orange, and I'm gonna show you how to supreme, segment, whatever the case may be, an orange. And these are just basically fancy oranges that you see sliced on people's salads, and you wonder how do they get so perfect? This is how they do it. So you're gonna take the top and the bottom off. Let's put those aside. And then you can see the white part is the pith, and it's very bitter, so we really don't want a lot of that. And the inside is a beautiful blood orange color. That's what we want. So you're gonna want to take your paring knife, it has to be semi-sharp for this application, and start slowly. You're flush with the flesh. That's hard to say. You're flush with the flesh, and then you're also flush on the other side with the skin. So as you can see, as I just peeled that off, you have the pith, and then you have your flesh. So basically you're taking all the white stuff off, is what I'm getting at. There are, you just have to try to be as close to the flesh as possible without taking too much off, but you also don't want any white. So then you're gonna do that. And it's okay, obviously you can see there's some of the orange a little bit on here, and it's not perfect, it's okay. This is really just a flavor agent in our salad. It's not, you know, don't worry about it being perfectly segmented, but I think it's a cool thing for people to know, especially at home cook. I think it's visually, you'll see how much better it looks than just like a, you know, a regular orange slice. Okay, so now that you have all the white part off, essentially, oh, that's a lie, a little bit there, and then a little bit right here. Okay, so you're gonna take it, and you can see obviously in between there are white lines. That's, you want to cut in between those white lines. So my knife, let me find a really good example. This one looks great. So this is white, this is white, this is obviously blood orange, purple, red color. Take your knife, go on the inside of the pith, or the white part, as you can see, and then you go on the other side, on the inside of the white part, and then it just flicks right out. And so you see you're left with this. That's what you don't want. That's gonna be that chewy kind of texture. All right, so the beets are roasting, and I set aside my blood orange segments, and now I have a standard breading procedure. What that means is there's a flour, an egg wash, and then some sort of breadcrumbs. So today I am going to be using almond flour because we're going to have chopped toasted Marcona almonds in our salad, so I think they're nice to mimic that flavor. Egg wash, just 1 egg, a splash of water, and then I have some panko breadcrumbs here. You can use regular seasoned breadcrumbs if you want to. I'm just not using like Italian type seasoning. I'm more keeping it simple. In my flour, I did dried thyme, salt, pepper, and a little bit of paprika. I just stuttered. Okay, so what the first thing I'm gonna do is we're gonna wanna season our pork. I pounded it out to about maybe like 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch thick. I'm just gonna season it with salt and pepper on both sides. You can pound this out more if you wanted to. This is a fairly thin slice of pork chop. You don't have to go crazy with that. All right, black pepper. Okay, so the first step is flour, then we'll go egg, then we'll go breadcrumbs. So I'll show you guys one. Pat it down in their seasoned flour. Again, I'm using almond flour. You can use all-purpose unbleached regular flour if you wanted to, that's fine. I'm just doing the almond to kind of keep it interesting flavor-wise. Right into the egg, a little dip, and a little dip. Obviously, if you're gonna be doing multiple pork scallopinis, you can do more than 1 egg. 1 egg and a little bit of water is more than enough for 2 of these. And then right into the panko. So I've kept this hand kind of a mess. This hand's kind of dry. I always try to do that. That was like one of the first things we learned in culinary school, but somehow as an adult, I still managed to, see, I just did it. You're gonna wanna pat those breadcrumbs on there and set that aside for about 10 minutes before you cook it, just to let it settle down and come to temp. Okay, so I have a cast iron preheating on medium heat with about a quarter of an inch, if that, of vegetable oil in the pan. You don't want these to really deep fry. You want it to be more of a shallow fry or pan sear kind of vibe. So I have a landing zone for them. I have a paper towel lined plate. This oil is hot, and I have my pork cutlets right here. That's kind of the sound that you want. And this cast iron, I can probably fit both of these in here. If you're at home and you only can do one at a time, just do one at a time. Don't crowd the pan too much. This is a big enough cast iron that I can do 2. So I'm gonna let these cook 3 to 4 minutes, probably on the side of 4 minutes per side, and then I'll show you what they look like when they're done. Okay, so I'm just going to take out our pork cutlets. As you can see, they are perfectly golden brown on both sides. Put them on a paper towel lined plate, and I'm going to salt them when they come out. And if your beets are still cooking like mine still are, you can always pop these back in the oven for about 5 to 10 minutes, 375 right before you serve it. So my little trick to peeling beets is to take them while they're still warm and take a paper towel and then just lightly rub them, and the skins come right off. So I'm gonna go ahead and peel all of my beets, chill them, and then we'll come back and I'll show you how to assemble this dish. All right, so the beets took a little longer than I thought. I think I originally said 45 minutes. You might be closer to like an hour on those. So I have some here that I have thinly sliced, like carpaccio style. Just get them as thin as you can. That's fine. Don't go crazy. Have your knife be sharp. And you could also do this and just dice these up and throw them in the salad. This is just more for presentation and then replica of my Hell's Kitchen finale dish. So I think what I'm gonna do is alternate some of these beets on the plate. I think I did that on the show as well, as when I did like red and the gold. It looks so pretty together. And then I'll do a few rows of that. That one's kind of like that. Okay. And I'm going to continue this process. So you can be fancy at home. It doesn't always have to be everything just plopped on a plate. This is great for staying into during quarantine. You can have a little date night and make a fancy plate of food. Okay, so my beets are on the plate. I'm going to season those with a little bit of salt, just like you would do with a beef carpaccio or whatever you were doing. I have my arugula here. I'm going to dress it with a little bit of lemon juice. It's a half of a lemon. That's a few good handfuls of arugula. And I'm not really one for measuring olive oil too much, but I'm probably gonna say a tablespoon. And that's just to create almost its own dressing for the arugula. All right. Okay, so with like a scallopini dish, typically it's like a small arugula, some sort of salad on top of it. We're gonna kind of mimic that and put the pork cutlet here. We have our beautiful beet. I mean, you can't tell me that doesn't look good. Like, it's impressive. It looks really nice. And let me grab the pork. Put that right next to there. And you can hear it's so crunchy, so crispy still. We did the almond flour, the egg wash, and then our seasoned breadcrumbs. And so we're gonna take our little arugula salad and we're just gonna toss that a little bit. And I also add a little bit of salt and pepper in this. Don't go crazy with the pepper just because, arugula is already really peppery as is. And put a nice handful. I mean, I was a little overzealous with the amount of arugula I did. You don't need to go crazy. I think you still want to be able to, if you're going to take the time to layer the beets like that, you want to be able to see it. So a little offset, that way you can still see the crispy pork, you can still see the beets, and then our garnishes. These are really just like flavor enhancers, and they also help with texture. On the show, I did toasted hazelnuts. I saw these Marcona almonds, and they're just like, if you haven't had Marcona almonds before, they're like the creamiest, best, I don't know, the texture is unreal. So some of those, and then our blue cheese. I think I did some sort of crazy fancy like goat cheese mousse or something on Hell's Kitchen, but that's also, you could also do that here, or you could get goat cheese, but saw this Great Hill blue cheese, and it's like a local place, and their cheese is delicious. So that, Okay, blue cheese everywhere. And then our orange segments that we segmented. And these actually look very similar to the color of the beet, which is really pretty. Get those on there. All right. That looks gorgeous. Very pretty. I also got this plate at like TJ Maxx for like $3, so there you go. Okay, so that's it. Not too bad, right? I do think that this is a little more accessible than my TV style version, but I think that this is beautiful. I think that the colors are impressive. This is definitely something you can make during your weeknight, even if you just take the idea of doing a beautiful arugula salad with a lot of stuff in it on top of like a chicken cutlet or something like that. You can add in so many things. So don't feel like you have to do this exactly. I feel like you could definitely use regular orange. You don't have to use blood orange, goat cheese, like I said, hazelnuts. Just have a crunch, have something acidic, have something creamy, and then you have those earthy beets with the crunchy pork or chicken, whatever you want to use. And you really can't go wrong. I think this recipe is definitely a knockout. If you want this recipe, head over to my Patreon. I'll have the exact amounts there. And as always, guys, you got this. Quickly wanted to show you guys how to kind of easily, peel a beet when they're still warm. You want to take a paper towel and take one of your beets and then just, it's not coming off. Okay, Usually they come right off. This is sick. They're not cooked.